Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the Short Sports Show. I'm your host, Daniel Short. Today is January the 3rd, Friday, 2014. 2014, had to catch myself there to make sure. Just first of all, want to apologize for being gone last week. I had lost my voice completely. I could not talk. It was scratchy, or it was just completely gone. And I missed out on a lot of good football news, a lot of sports news that happens, starting with the BCS Bowl Games and all that other good stuff, draft news, head coaches from Black Monday, which would have been a really good episode with the coaches being fired and things like that. But in this episode, we will talk about the BCS Bowl Games from last night and also what's happening today and this weekend, especially with the national championship just a few days away now. 3 days from now, the BCS National Championship game. Also, tomorrow is the National Football League's wild card playoffs, and somehow my San Diego Chargers did make it. And I will talk about my San Diego Chargers and the Pittsburgh Steelers, just to clear up some things, and also some playoff predictions. Also, the University of Texas head coaching search continues, and a lot of names have been thrown out there that are not even close to being hired for them, and also want to clear that up. So before we start off with that, as you can still hear, voice is still kind of there, kind of not. Still trying to get it, most of it. I'm about 95% there. But we'll, just got to get through it because I got to get this show done. It's been a while. So we'll go ahead and talk about some NFL news. Mike Munchak, the head coach of the Tennessee Titans, as of right now, will meet with the Tennessee Titans. This morning, they have, I'm pretty sure, a meeting right now, or have met to discuss the future with the team. So far, he is 22-26 in 3 years as a head coach with the Tennessee Titans. And to be honest with you, I was never a fan after they fired Jeff Fisher to bring this guy in. To be honest with you, he's not that good of a head coach. The record speaks for himself. Yes, he hasn't had the best team. They've tried to go ahead and go with Jake Locker as a quarterback, starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, and I never saw why. I've never been a real fan of Jake Locker. To be honest with you, I think he's like, okay, no, I'm not going to describe, because Tim Tebow, who I will talk about if this episode goes through with the things I want to talk about, might talk about a little bit of Tim Tebow. But if not, it'll be in next week's episode for sure, because I have a few things to say about Tim Tebow that came out. But also, Jake Locker is just not that quarterback. Even if he was healthy, I don't see him as an NFL starting quarterback that's going to win games. This year, he did start off 3-1 and then got hurt, just to come back and get hurt again and then out for the year. With that, Jake Locker to me is just not that quarterback that you are going to win games with. Again, yes, he did start 3-1. One of those games was against the Chargers, as they won in the last 15 seconds. That was just bad defense by the Chargers. Just saying. So you really could look at just the 2-2 record, and just, to me, he's just not that quarterback that you want to build your franchise around and start a team with. And I do believe they will address that in the draft this year. I'm sure they have a top 10 draft pick, if not top 15, depending on how things get finalized and worked out after the playoffs, to get the draft picks and whatnot. But I just, Mike Munchak and the Titans, I do think they keep him as a head coach for this year, unless he leaves to Penn State, which we will talk about in just a minute as well. I don't see the Titans firing him, after a 7-9 season. But if I was a Titans fan, I would want him fired. I want someone new. Like maybe Ken Whisenhunt, the Chargers offensive coordinator, who looks like he's probably going to leave us, which I'm very, very sad about. But I could see, Titans going after him. That would be a good thing, because their defense is, okay, it's not the best, but offensively they need more help. They do have more weapons on offense with Kendall Wright and at the wide receiver position, and obviously Chris Johnson at running back. But, Weidenhunt knows how to develop quarterbacks and knows how to work with quarterbacks. So, that could help if they still want to move forward with Jake Locker. Also, the Indianapolis Colts have finally sold out their remaining tickets, while the Cincinnati Bengals and the Green Bay Packers are still trying. Now, Colts, they really had no excuse to be in this position to try to sell tickets. But the Bengals and the Packers, they do have an excuse. The reason is, if people haven't heard, the Cincinnati Bengals and the Green Bay Packers are having a little bit of weather issues. It is going to be cold. In Cincinnati, the weather is predicted to be around the low 30s. And also maybe a little bit of snow in Cincinnati. While the Green Bay Packers will have snow, and it's supposed to be either, a low -2 degrees or the high of 11 degrees, and with the wind chill of -30 degrees. That is crazy. Green Bay Packers apparently have gotten closer now. They started off this week with 40,000 tickets they needed to sell. 40,000 tickets they needed to sell. And now they're apparently, or supposedly, have only 1,000 tickets remaining. And they have sold out, I believe, almost every game, if not every game, because isn't there a waiting list for Green Bay Packers? Isn't there like a 40-year waiting list to just be at a game? This is y'all's opportunity, any Green Bay Packers fans, to go watch a game. And yeah, you're probably going to get frostbite and probably going to lose some fingers and toes. But hey, at least you got to say you went to a playoff game and possibly with the Packers winning against the 49ers in the wild card, possibly. But at least you went, I mean, it's going to be cold, but hey, yeah, if you're from Wisconsin, you're probably used to it by now. So might as well just go. But the Bengals have the bigger problem. Well, they don't really have the bigger problem because they have the better weather. But they have apparently, they haven't really confirmed how many tickets are remaining, but it's close to either 3,500 or 8,000 tickets are still remaining. And most people know Chad Ochocinco, whatever you want to call him, says he will help the Cincinnati Bengals if needed to make sure there is no blackout, and by buying tickets. And I don't know if that means is he gonna buy the tickets no matter how many are left? Is he gonna buy them and then just give the tickets away for free, or is it just buying them and no one's gonna be there, and that's just to say it's sold out because the tickets are sold out, but it's still you're still not gonna have like 8,000 fans there, whatever it is. That's what I want to know. Because if I was a fan in Cincinnati or anywhere close to that, and I'm hearing that Chad Johnson, whatever his name is right now, is going to buy those tickets to make sure there's not a blackout, and that means he's going to give those tickets away for free at someplace, I'm not going to buy any tickets, because now I know that I could get some free tickets no matter what the seats are, But if he's just buying them and I guess just holding them and that's it, then you might want to go buy some tickets pretty soon. But I'm just surprised with the Bengals not being able to sell out their games, especially being in the wild card or being in the playoffs and being undefeated at home. I would have thought, this would be the time to buy some tickets, but I guess the weather of 30 degrees, I don't know. I guess not. Also, the Chicago Bears and Jay Cutler agreed to a 7-year, $126 million deal with $54 million guaranteed to Jay Cutler. Yeah, that is by far probably the stupidest deal we have seen in the NFL for a very long time, ever since the Albert Haynesworth $100 million deal. The Chicago Bears, I don't know what you were thinking. If this is obviously it is 7 years, $126 million with $54 million guaranteed to a guy who cannot stay healthy, a player that is not clutch when you need him, and a guy that just can't win against the Green Bay Packers. your biggest rival, and you're going to give him $54 million, not only just guaranteed, and then $126 million overall. To me, that makes no sense whatsoever. Now, I know Jay Cutler, he can have those games where he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. One of. He can have those games. I'm not gonna deny that. I'm not gonna not look at that. Yeah, but he can also be one of the worst quarterbacks. And to me, what sticks out more in your mind? Him actually throwing, over 300 plus yards, 3+ touchdowns, no interceptions, and staying healthy, or him having those games where the offense can't get anything going, he's throwing interceptions, and you see him on the ground. What sticks out more in your mind? Let me know. Exactly. So with that, I don't see why Jay Cutler. I mean, if I understand the free agent class right now of quarterbacks is not the best. I think I saw it was Matt Schaub, Josh McCown, who's actually did a little bit better than Jay Cutler. Michael Vick. Who else? But David Carr was one of them. I don't think I need to say any other names because there's nobody. I don't see why. If they want to keep him, that's fine. I'm not saying that they should have just completely let him go, but I'm not going to give him, for sure, I'm not going to give him a 7-year deal. I'm not going to give him $54 million guaranteed, and I'm not going to give him $126 million. I don't know what the Bears are thinking. I mean, I'd rather sign Jay Cutler to maybe a 3 to 4 year deal and sign him 3 to 4 year deal, maybe just a $26 million contract with maybe, $8 million guaranteed, somewhere around there. I don't know. I'm not doing the figures, and I'm not a figures person, so that's probably not like the best deal. But I'm just saying that type of deal, that just to get something, as an example, it's just ridiculous. So for $54 million guaranteed, and then I would just go draft a quarterback. We have tons of quarterbacks coming out, and any one of those you can. Mark Trestman is obviously a really good coach, especially offensively. I have enough faith in Mark Trestman to draft a quarterback in any rounds of the top 3 rounds, develop him for 1 or 2 years, and then start him and have Jay Cutler gone after the 2nd or 3rd year. That's my plan. If I was a Chicago Bears GM, coach, whatever, that's what I would do. I would not give Jay Cutler $54 million guaranteed and a 7-year contract of $126 million. Absolutely not. But Bears, they see something we don't, or maybe we see something they don't. I don't know. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the first to hire a brand new head coach. They hired former Chicago Bears head coach Lovie Smith, and also they want to hire the Kansas City Chiefs director of player personnel, Chris Ballard, to be their GM. But that has, that's just who they want. That hasn't, happened or anything. But they did hire Lovie Smith as a head coach. And my question is, now he was the linebacker coach from 1996 to 2000 under Tony Dungy with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But my question is, why Lovie Smith? Now, the reason I ask that is because Lovie Smith, pretty solid head coach. Not going to lie, pretty solid. And I could see why any team would hire Lovie Smith, after waiting a year and now trying to get him there. I don't blame you. My question comes is because Tampa Bay Buccaneers, pretty solid defense, very young, and is going to improve next year. And Lovie Smith is a defensive guy. When he was with the Chicago Bears, their offense was terrible, and their defense was one of the best. Yes, they did have, some stud players out there, but he's a very smart defensive coach, and he knows what he's doing. But I looked it up. I looked at the rankings for Tampa Bay's offense and defense, and here it is. They were last in pass offense, 32nd, last. They were 22nd in rushing offense. Yes, they lost Doug Martin early in the year, But they do have some pretty good running backs. Mike James, Bobby Rainey, two very fast guys. And they're going to have a running back committee next year that is going to be very, very talented. But 22nd, still not that good. Then they were 17th in pass defense, pretty solid, and 15th in rush defense for a very young team with very good linebackers. He's going to obviously make that defense a lot better. We might see this pass defense ranking and this rush defense ranking easily jump up, 5 to 8 spots and being a very legit defense that teams are going to have to fear. If I was a defensive player in a free agency, I would very highly consider going to Tampa Bay to be a part of that defense and being coached by Lovie Smith. But the reason, I'm thinking is Lovie Smith, defensive guy, offense is where they struggled very badly. And they did hire a former Cal head coach, University of Cal head coach Jeff Tedford, to be their offensive coordinator, which that gives me a little bit of faith in that coaching staff now that, I know Lovie Smith is obviously going to be the guy that oversees everything because he is a head coach. But he's also going to be focused on that defense and developing that defense to get even better. But he can back off that offense a little bit because Cal has had a very good offense. University of Cal has always had a really top offense for the past, 10 to 15 years. They've always had a pretty solid offense in college football. So that gives me a little bit of faith that Jeff Tedford can improve that offense. I mean, the pass offense can't get any worse. They're already last in the NFL, so it can't get any worse. That's not a thing you got to worry about. Rush offense, that's going to get better with Doug Martin being there. And they have pretty solid wide receivers that have been developed. Obviously, Vincent Jackson's already, Pro Bowl player. Underwood is that speed guy. They really probably need to draft some more wide receivers, and there's a good draft class of wide receivers coming out, so that's not a worry. So their offense could get better, but I just think maybe they should have gone after an offensive head coach. But Lovie Smith is going to be really good for that defense, though. So Tampa Bay defense is going to improve very, very good coming up for this 2014 season. So also last news in college football, in the NFL, if I can speak, is Percy Harvin returns to practice for the Seattle Seahawks. He had hip surgery August 1st and came back and played in last game that he played actually was November 17th against the Minnesota Vikings, his former team. And I don't know if they're saying he's expected to play, but I'm guessing he is. Whether he's at 100% for the game, divisional playoff games that the Seattle Seahawks will host, who knows? But it looks like the way the players after they've been interviewed talking about Percy Harvin, they sound very excited, as if he's as if they were going to play this week and he was ready to go. So I'm thinking that by next week he is going to be ready to go and be I'm not going to say he's going to be a factor in that game because, we all know how good Percy Harvin is. But he has been gone for a while. And, how he's going to play, I don't know. I don't think he's going to be, no matter who they play, no matter who the Seattle Seahawks play, I don't think he's going to be that big of a factor in the game, whether he is at 75% or 100%. I don't see him getting that many yards. I don't see him even getting probably a touchdown. But again, that is depending on who they play in the playoffs. Speaking of the playoffs, the wild card playoffs start tomorrow. First game is Kansas City against the Indianapolis Colts, and then followed by the New Orleans Saints versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And then Sunday will be the San Diego Chargers taking on the Cincinnati Bengals and then the next game will be the San Francisco 49ers against the Green Bay Packers. Now, I'm going to save my San Diego thing for just one moment because I do want to talk about what happened and things like that, because as a San Diego Charger fan, I want to clear things up, but also I'm going to talk to you guys as unbiased about the San Diego Chargers and why they still deserve to be in the playoffs, given what all happened. But first game, Kansas City Chiefs against the Indianapolis Colts. Go ahead and just give my predictions on that. I do see, even though the Chiefs are a very solid team, they really have been, the past few weeks, been struggling against some teams they really shouldn't. I see the Indianapolis Colts at home getting the victory 24-20 over the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs, and with Indianapolis moving on to go play the New England Patriots. That'll be one great playoff game right there. Then the next game is New Orleans Saints against the Philadelphia Eagles. And that game is going to be, I don't know. That game's tough for me because the Saints having that high-powered offense against this Philadelphia defense that has been improving these past few weeks. Their cornerback, was it Brandon Boykin? That guy is becoming, as a rookie, is becoming a very, very good cornerback that I'm excited for his career that I tweeted about, and also about Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at @short_sports 24/7. Self-plug. But the Saints, on the road in Philadelphia, I don't know. I can't see them getting a victory on the road. I think the Saints are the better team, offensively, defensively. I think that if it was at New Orleans, I think New Orleans would win this game by 10 points. But because it is on the road, Eagles offense, it's been rolling in the regular season except for week 17 when they played the Cowboys. What a game that was. I wish I could have talked about that as well. I can't see the Saints getting a victory over the Eagles on the road. So I'm going to say Eagles 28, Saints 21 final score. And then the San Diego Chargers will be the first game on Sunday against the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'm going for my San Diego Chargers. Of course, I have to go. Now, maybe I'm being a little bit biased picking my team over the Bengals. But here's the reason why. Actually, I'm going to get into that when I talk about Pittsburgh. But San Diego Chargers beat Cincinnati 24-17 in the playoffs, moving on to play the Denver Broncos. Number 6 seed San Diego against the number 1 seed Denver Broncos on the road. And wow, this brings back memories because the San Diego Chargers did go on the road and did beat the Denver Broncos on the road in Denver, Colorado on, what was it, Thursday night? Yeah, that was a great game. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. Also, the Chicago Bears. See, I'm talking about Chicago. Ugh, it's disgusting. San Francisco 49ers will take on the Green Bay Packers. And this one, I can't really give you a right score prediction. Like these other score predictions, I feel kind of I feel kind of confident. How can you feel kind of? I feel confident in. I guess probably not because I said kind of confident. But the score on this one, I don't feel confident in. I couldn't pick a score for this. But what I do see is even though the 49ers are better offensively, better defensively, and more balanced than the Green Bay Packers, I cannot see the 49ers going into Lambeau Field in the coldest weather they have yet to see all season and probably in a very long time. Actually, yeah, because this is actually going to be the coldest game since the 1982 playoffs when the Cincinnati Bengals hosted the San Diego Chargers in the AFC Championship game. Boy, how I remember that, even though I was not alive. Oh, man, memories. Anyways, this is going to be the coldest game since the 1982 playoffs. I just don't see 49ers going into Lambeau Field and in that cold weather. And with Aaron Rodgers being back and how, the momentum is with Green Bay, even though they're not going to have that many fans there. Actually, what am I talking about? They only have 1,000 tickets left. So never mind. I see Green Bay getting the victory over San Francisco, and that with the score I just said 22-21 because I couldn't pick a score. I couldn't. There's no way for me to. I don't know. It was just tough for me to pick a score, but I do see Green Bay getting the victory, which would mean if the Eagles were to beat the Saints and Green Bay were to beat the 49ers in the playoffs, that would mean that the Philadelphia Eagles would go on the road to play Carolina Panthers, and the Green Bay Packers will go on the road to the number 1 seed Seattle Seahawks. And the last time the Green Bay Packers were in Seattle was the Hail Mary touch interception catch. that would be amazing to see how the fans would react in CenturyLink Field with the Green Bay Packers being at Seattle. I think that'd be very interesting. I think that'll be fun. Wow, I think that'd be a very intense game, and how Green Bay wants to respond after what happened last year. It'd be very cool. So now let me talk about the San Diego Chargers. This episode will go over 30 minutes. I only have 5 minutes left, so 30 minutes. So, oh well, because we still got to talk about college football and how amazing college football has been this past week. San Diego Chargers. Now, a lot of people have saw the game, or at least saw the highlights of the 41-yard field goal that Ryan Suckup missed as the Kansas City Chiefs kicker. Missed that would have won the game for the Kansas City Chiefs and would have knocked out San Diego in the playoffs and would have put Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoffs. Now, here's the thing. San Diego had lined up 7 men on the right side, depending on which camera angle you were looking at. Majority, everybody was looking from the field goal to the player. When the NFL rule apparently that happened this year, that was in place for this year, you're only supposed to have 6 men on either side. You can only have 6 total on that side. San Diego had put 7. It was an honest mistake. And one thing I want to clear up, that extra person didn't help the Chargers even get close to blocking the kick or help the kicker miss the kick. But it was supposed to been a flag, and it was a 5-yard penalty. It still would have been 4th down, but it would have been, whatever. I'm not going to do the math now. 35-yard field goal, something like that, 37, whatever it may have been after that. So with that, people were saying, oh, he would automatically have made the field goal then. It would have been a second try. He would have lined it up better. It was closer. He would automatically make the field goal. Actually, there's no guarantee he would have made that field goal. But, coulda, woulda, shoulda thing. Now, San Diego, I'm trying to see how I can do this because there's multiple points you have to make to clear this up, and I don't want it to get it's already a confusing thing, and I don't want it to get more confusing. But the thing is, San Diego, I do believe, not saying this as a fan. Now, I want people to believe me and trust me as much as possible that I'm saying all of this not being even though I am a fan, but I'm trying to make sure that, people don't think I'm just being biased towards my San Diego Chargers. The reason I think San Diego deserves to be in the playoffs more than the Pittsburgh Steelers, no matter what had happened, the reason I say that is because Pittsburgh started off the year, 0-4? If they would have won just 2 of those games, they would have been in the playoffs, and Chargers would have still had no hope in that game. So, you can't just say it all came down to that kick that should have got Pittsburgh in. Pittsburgh may have, should have played better in the beginning of the year, and none of this would have ever happened. Another thing, San Diego had won 4 straight games, either coming into that game or coming into this game. They had a win against the Denver Broncos on the road, which they did. They had to beat Kansas City. Yes, they put in backups, but, as we all said coming into that game, backups play, have more to play for because they want to get, they want to show the team that they could, that they're worth something, that they should play more. They should be a starter. So they had more to play for than the actual starters. And Kansas City overall had nothing to play for because they were locked into that 5th seed. Either way, win or lose, whether they won by 100 points, whether they lost by 100 points, they were stuck at that 5th seed no matter what. What else? So, anyways, the point is, it really, yes, should it have been a penalty? Yeah. He should have had another try. Would he have made it? Who knows? I mean, you can't say automatically he was going to make that because, to be honest with you, he was close. He had the distance to make that 41-yard field goal, but he pushed it to the right. What if this time he pushed it to the left and would have missed it? Then what are you going to say after that? Oh, no, the Chargers really did deserve down. Just because of that one little penalty, what it should have been called, then you're going to say Chargers should have been in it. Or, the Chargers got in legit then. It's ridiculous that, people say, that it has to come down to, because of a ref missed a call, things like that. And I don't know. I think the San Diego Chargers still should deserve more because they've played, better offensively on, this year. And Pittsburgh, to me, they have struggled all year. Now, they did, come into the season, or finish the season very strong. Pittsburgh Steelers did. But, I don't know. The Chargers, to me, they were a lot better. They beat more better teams, than the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, I don't know. That's just what I had to say. I think that, if people say Pittsburgh deserved, well, they should have played better in the beginning of the year and should have shown themselves as a playoff team. Now, the Chargers, they have a really bad defense, pass defense, which scares me. But if you're able to shut down, or not completely shut down, because I know my friend Dimitri's listening to this, huge Broncos fan, but both of those games, when the Chargers played the Broncos, not only did we hold the Denver Broncos to their lowest points of all year long, both of those games happened to go against us. Chargers somehow, they know how to play against Peyton Manning. I don't understand how they do it. I mean, we can have our defense gave up 300 yards to, I can't remember the quarterback, but it was a Blaine Gabbert gave up 300 plus yards to Blaine Gabbert, yet we can and made him look like a Pro Bowl player. Yet we can still, I think we gave up about 303 yards to Peyton Manning, but yet we can still kind of, it looks like he struggles in that game against us more than any quarterback. So I don't know. I feel confident for the San Diego, and I'm going to make my case for the San Diego Chargers, how they can actually make it to the Super Bowl. And to check this out real quick, I'll make this short and simple because we got to talk about college football. And this is called the Short Sports Show. This isn't really short at 30 minutes. So the way I could see it, San Diego Chargers. Oh, I didn't even give my predictions. Yeah, I did. Never mind. So Chargers, they've already played the Cincinnati Bengals. Yes, it was a home game for them this year. This year, kind of mixed in year and season together. Anyways, final score was 17-10. They held us to our lowest points, and really we had no pass rush against them. Didn't even sack Andy Dalton, not one time. That's pretty bad. And it's weird. TCU fan, Andy Dalton's from TCU. I'm sorry, man. I have to root for my Chargers. Chargers are my team in the NFL. Anytime that you don't play the Chargers, I'm going to root for you. But I'm going to be happy whoever wins, because then I'm going to just root for the Bengals if Chargers lose. Anyways, I can still see San Diego making the adjustments, even though it's going to be in colder weather, even though it's on the road. And people are saying, well, Cincinnati hasn't lost the home game. Neither did the Seattle Seahawks. And then Arizona Cardinals came in and they lost. Just saying. So I'm not falling for that home field type thing. Chargers could make adjustments. I can see them winning. They have a better offense than Cincinnati does, but we have a terrible defense, which scares me. So who knows how that works out. But if the Chargers do win and move on, whether they lose, whether the final score is 3-2 or it's, a high scoring game, Chargers would move on to play the Denver Broncos no matter what happens with Kansas City or Indianapolis, because they are the 6th seed, Indianapolis 1st seed. Yeah, that's how it works out. So Chargers have already gone on the road and have played Peyton Manning. I've already talked about this, so now you know Chargers can beat the Broncos. They almost beat them when the Broncos were in San Diego. Final score is 28-20. Lost by 8 points. Very close game. So I can see the San Diego Chargers beating the Broncos, and if that happened, I really do see New England moving on to the AFC Championship game. So then you would be looking at the San Diego Chargers on the road in New England. Scary game. Do I see the Chargers winning that if they did make it that far? Or, winning that game against the Patriots? Probably not, but I wouldn't rule out our chances because, with Tom Brady, with that Patriots offense not being, all the way there that like it has been, they have shown some weakness. So, I could see the Chargers beating the Patriots, but it'd be a whole lot of luck in that game. But if the Chargers did go on to the playoffs to the Super Bowl, one thing I will make clear, even as a fan, they could not beat anybody, not one team in the NFC. I think the Super Bowl will be an NFC team, not even the Broncos, not the Patriots, not Kansas City. It's going to be an NFC team. Those teams are just, all those teams could beat any of these AFC teams. Majority of them. I don't know. Broncos have the stronger chance, but just saying. But that's the thing I could see. I just wanted to make my case for that, because if San Diego gets knocked out, then I didn't need to talk about it. But that was my thing. So let's move on to college football. We got to make this quick because this show is already running a little bit longer than it should have been. But I have been gone for a while, so I guess that'll be my excuse. In college football, we have, players have already announced who's to go in the NFL. But these are just a few that have announced either today or yesterday or the day before. LSU defensive tackle Anthony Johnson, who was rated the 5th defensive tackle as a non-senior, has declared. Oregon State wide receiver Brandon Cook is projected to be in the 2nd round and actually won the top wide receiver award, who I cannot think of the name. And it was really a really good wide receiver. Also, Penn State wide receiver Allen Robinson, who is projected to go in the 3rd to the 5th round, has declared to go to the NFL. Texas A&M wide receiver Mike Evans is projected to be 20th overall, has declared. And also Texas A&M quarterback Johnny Football Manziel has declared for the NFL and is projected to be either the 3rd or 4th overall pick. Whatever the Cleveland Browns, or the Houston Texans could go to the first to the first pick to the Houston Texans, with Bill O'Brien being the head coach of the Houston Texans, seeing how he would develop Johnny Manziel. That would be pretty interesting. But I really do see him going to Cleveland. I'm going to save because I didn't know how much time I would have. I was going to talk about Johnny Manziel, but I'm going to save that for next week's episode. So look forward for Johnny Manziel topic, because that's probably a 10-minute talk, and I don't have time for that. So also, Georgia Tech quarterback Vad Lee will transfer, and this is what didn't make sense to me. He was a sophomore, and he ran the triple option. That's what Georgia Tech has run for many, many, many years. Long time. This is what he had to say, quote, "The triple option wasn't for me," unquote. What? The triple option wasn't for you? It took you an entire year or two to figure that out, that it wasn't for you? You didn't think about that through the recruiting process? That to me is just, that just shows that there has to be something else, whether it was academics, whether it was because he wasn't getting along with the coaches. I don't know, but that just, the triple option wasn't for you. You should have thought about that before, when the recruiting process was happening, and you decided to sign your letter of intent to Georgia Tech, who runs the triple option for many years. He even ran it with Calvin Johnson at wide receiver, and look what he's become. To me, I don't even know if quarterback position for this guy is a thing to do, because when he did throw the ball, he only threw for 1,500 yards, 45.6% pass completion. Yikes. And 11 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. You know what? Might want to pick a different position, because that is terrible as a quarterback. Penn State is to name their head coach in the next, not weeks, few days. Apparently, a lot of coaches have contacted Penn State, which I'm not surprised, because a lot of people want that. They are set up for recruiting, and they're set to be a solid program after all these sanctions are finally over with. But the names have included Al Golden, the head coach of Miami, Jim Caldwell, the offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, Mike Munchap, obviously we talked about him earlier, the Tennessee Titans head coach, James Franklin, head coach of Missouri, and also Greg Schiano, former Rutgers head coach and former Tampa Bay head coach. I really hope it's not him, because that guy I've lost all respect for, and I do not like him. And I like Penn State, so I really hope they could get someone better. I really don't like any of these coaches for Penn State. Hopefully they hire someone else. I don't know. None of those names interest me, especially Al Golden. I mean, he's only had one good year that he's at Miami. and that's just no. I don't want him. Speaking of head coaching search, this is what we'll finish off with is Texas head coach search. Now, it all started with, we want Nick Saban. We want Nick Saban. That's not going to happen. Then Jimbo Fisher, which was the stupidest thing next to Nick Saban that I've heard, that Texas fans and the University of Texas wanted Jimbo Fisher. Now, I can understand why you want him. That makes sense. But to me, if you really thought you were actually going to get him, I don't want to be mean, but you need something checked. You think Jimbo Fisher, his dream job to become a head coach at Florida State, and he's had it for many years now, you think he would leave there after having a Heisman winner as a freshman, redshirt freshman, and Jameis Winston, who's going to have to return next year. Can't go for the draft. He has to return for next year, and if he wants, he could stay for his junior year. But he has to return next year. So he's going to have him back next year. So he's won the state of he's won the recruiting in the state of Florida. He's got any recruit that he wants in the state of Florida, he could basically get with a snap. Just like that. So he's run it. He's won the state. And Florida's been down, so no one really wants to go there. Miami has been up and down, but they went up this year, but they couldn't beat any of the good teams, so that went down. And, he doesn't, you could say, he has to compete against the SEC. Well, I mean, not really. I mean, he can still pull those recruits easily as he wants. Just as Nick Saban can, he can do the same. So anybody that thinks Jimbo Fisher would leave Florida State to go to Texas is not that bright, because it's Texas, it's the University of Texas, everybody wants to go there. Obviously not. If Nick Saban's going to turn down $10 million to go to, to leave Alabama to go to Texas, and he's not going to do it, but I'm just saying, that job is not that hot right now as people want to think. And I'm not just saying that because I don't like Texas. Not saying it because of that. Just, you got to be realistic here on who you're going to get. Then they wanted, they interviewed Art Briles. Art Briles, if I was a Baylor's fan, I would hate Art Briles because he wants to go there, and apparently something didn't work out because they interviewed him, and this morning he tweeted, "I'm a Baylor Bear, 2013 Big 12 champs." Something didn't work out. They didn't want him. And so he's got to go back over there. And if I was Baylor, I don't care how good the offense is. You're still going to have a good offense with Bryce Petty coming back. I don't think Art Briles, I wouldn't want him. I wouldn't want him. He's just a traitor, basically. He wants to go to Texas, and something didn't work out where he's not going to go to Texas now. And now he's like, no, I always want to be a Baylor Bear. Yeah, right. And then Jim Moore has another name that has popped up now that Texas wants. He's not going to leave UCLA, and this is why. He has now won the state of California in recruiting. With USC being bad and them, not being that good, obviously. He's won it. He's been able to recruit the kids out of LA and then keep them there. And he's been able to recruit all across the state of California and the West Coast, And he's built UCLA back to that powerhouse, team that they used to be. He's got UCLA where they need to be and where he wants to be, and I think he's going to be there for many, 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 many years. And I don't see him leaving UCLA for Texas. Then also, last two names, James Franklin, the head coach of Missouri. Now that one I can't see him leaving for Texas, even though it's the SEC. No, there's no more of that crap. It's I could see him leaving Missouri for Texas. Even though he's done really good at recruiting right now, and he's finally, took Missouri to the SEC championship. I could still see him leaving Missouri for Texas, but I don't think he's going to be that good of a head coach. No matter whether he stays at Missouri or he goes to Texas, I don't think he's going to be that good of a coach. No matter where he goes. Now I know he took him to the SEC championship and led him to a 2-loss season. I don't know. I just don't see him being that good of a head coach afterwards. I think this is just one of those years where things just went right for them. Then the last name is Charlie Strong, head coach of Louisville. That is what scares me. I think Charlie Strong is a very, very good coach. And I think there's a very, very strong chance that he does go to Texas because of the fact that, yes, he's got the recruiting, going well for him. But, Teddy Bridgewater's not going to be there next year. He's going to the NFL. You're not going to have that strong of an offense next year. You're losing some people. This is the chance to leave to a bigger school and, get some recruits and get the money, whatever, if that's what he wants. But I think Charlie Strong, if he went to Texas, I would then be a little bit afraid of how good Texas could become. And so now, hopefully me saying that, people know I'm not being biased towards Texas, why they can't get those other coaches. Because they can't get those other coaches because it makes common sense why those coaches wouldn't leave. But with Charlie Strong, it makes complete sense to leave. If I was Charlie Strong, I'd highly consider it because that is, a job that'll get him there to where, he's one of those top coaches. So I am a little bit afraid about that. If he went to Texas, I'd be kind of scared of how good Texas can actually become. And that's basically it for the news of college football. Last couple things are the games today. AT&T Cotton Bowl will be number 13 Oklahoma State taking on number 8 Missouri. And an hour after that game starts, the Discover Orange Bowl with number 12 Clemson going against the number 7 Ohio State. And also next week's episode, I will talk about Taj Boyd and why I believe he is the top quarterback and should be one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL draft. And why he's better than some guy named Blake Bortles. I am not a fan of this guy named Blake Bortles. Coming out of nowhere, never even heard of this guy until this last few weeks. I don't know. I've never seen this. Is just Taj Boyd is the best quarterback in my mind in the NFL and will be after about 5 years being in the NFL with all these other quarterbacks. So until then, the next show will be on Monday. Sometime in the afternoon, we'll have to check. But if you like this, go ahead and follow on Spreaker.com. Just click the follow button. It's free. And also follow me on Twitter at @short_sports 24/7. No more dash. I can't believe I said dash so many episodes. There's no dash apparently. I didn't even know my own Twitter username. Embarrassing. And if you missed any other episodes or want to re-listen to any other episodes, go on YouTube, type in the Short Sports Show, and just listen to all of them if you want to. But while you're there, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. You can follow me on Facebook or like me on Facebook. My page is the Short Sports Show. And also news that just came in. Check this out. Jim Mora says he is committed to UCLA according to the Los Angeles Times, as Jim Mora was linked to the Texas job. There you go. Another one. Scratch off the list. So, I will see you guys Monday as I will recover from my voice. Hopefully it is a lot better. And Monday is National Championship Day. So it's going to be very exciting. Basically, that entire episode is just going to be talking about the National Championship in college football. And any other news, probably we'll also recap the NFL playoffs. So hopefully the San Diego Chargers get a win. And hopefully Clemson gets the win against Ohio State tonight. Taj Boyd, I'm just telling you guys, Taj Boyd is the quarterback. There's something about him. He started his pass for 3 years straight, has thrown over 3,600 yards in every one of those years, over 35 touchdowns every single one of those years, except for this year. He's thrown for 29. But I'm just saying, he is the guy to go to. And, yeah. So I'll see you guys Monday, Spreaker.com. Follow me on Twitter at @short_sports 24/7 for other news and other just random sports stuff that I talk about. I will see you guys there. Thank you guys for listening.